Hey there, podcast listeners. This is Corbett Lunsford, your host. This special episode of the Building Performance Podcast is from last year's Fall Fast Track, which is my annual 6-week mastermind course with people all over the world, all about profiting from home performance. If you'd like to learn more and pre-register for free for the 2015 Fall Fast Track, you can do that at HomePerformance.training. Enjoy.
A rising tide lifts all boats. Fall Fast Track.
Today we're talking with Nate Adams, who is the founder of Energy Smart Home Performance in Cleveland, Ohio. Nate, thank you so much for talking with us.
Oh, my pleasure.
You run a home performance company that does actual contracting, and you use performance testing in Cleveland. Is that correct?
Yes.
Can you tell us about the journey of first of all, how old is your business?
Now about 6 years old. I actually started out as an outside sales guy for a fiberglass manufacturer, and then you may have heard 08, 09, the new housing construction kind of fell a little bit, and I lost my job. So I started doing installation contracting before I had any idea what home performance contracting was, and did some weatherization stuff. And then I also did a lot of work with the Home Performance with Energy Star program with Dominion East Ohio Gas, and actually got a Century Club Award in 2012.
And so, first time that you ever heard as an installation contractor, you're doing it wrong. What did you think?
Actually, I was kind of looking for a better way. So I happened to go across a job where they had an energy audit, and they were looking for somebody to actually do it. And the energy auditor and I became friends, and he came out and showed me, okay, so you do this, and you do this, and you do this. And next thing I knew, I was a home performance guy.
And then you started working in the programs, and I'd like to talk for a minute. I've heard you talk recently about moving more into the private sector. Do you work in programs still?
No, I do not.
Okay, so how did that transition go for you?
It was pretty unpleasant, frankly. I'm actually I've got a blog article queued up to write on this, and essentially the programs being so prescriptive held the job size down. Now this is still private work, but this is a Home Performance with Energy Star program, and it held the job size down to about $3,000 or $4,000. Which, as we both know, in home performance is not going to get you a whole heck of a lot. And it made me run so hard for jobs that it might take 15 or 20 hours between going to the job, taking a look at the house, quoting the customer, all the back and forth. I could be out 15 or 20 hours. And then oftentimes it only took 15 or 20 man hours to actually complete the job. And that was 3 guys working. Mm-hmm. So the math didn't work. I could work 80 hours a week and only keep my guys working 25 or 30.
So now that you're working in the private side work, is it just simply that you are making more money, less red tape, less bureaucracy? I mean, is it that simple?
I'd love to say that. I'm still relatively new into this, the comprehensive home performance, where I'm selling both HVAC and shell work, where before I just did shell. So the money side is not where I would like to be yet, because I'm still figuring out the last of the business model. But at least it's starting to come in after I made a relatively long transition. It's kind of a long pipeline. You need to have 8 or 12 months of work lined up so that you've got a full pipeline. And so I had to fill that pipeline first. And that pipeline's just now getting full.
How big is your crew?
Actually, I don't have a crew anymore. I am actually subcontracting the work through different professionals that I've met through my whole journey here.
Interesting. So, and your specs are strong enough that you can expect that they know exactly how you want it done, even though last week were working for a different guy who had much lower standards?
Yes. Well, the other thing is I'm there for the entire job. So there's not a whole lot of wiggle room on their part.
Yeah, got it. So this week in the Fall Fast Track, we're talking about the Rockstar recipe, and you are clearly, in case the listeners don't know already, you are a rock star. You have articles in the Journal of Light Construction. You are a presenter on the national stage. So what, in your mind, are the ingredients to being a rock star? Not only on, in writing articles and things like that, but in your local market. I mean, how do you get to the point where you're really, people know where to find you, know that you've got the good stuff? What are the ingredients in that recipe?
Blogging, and good content on your website.
So your website is the number one advertisement for you.
I'm actually down to zero marketing budget, where it used to be about $15,000 a year.
Wow. So you're not even doing pay-per-click Google advertising?
Nope, don't really need it.
Because you're in the organic searches?
Correct. Yeah,
okay.
Organic search is huge within my analytics.
What are you writing about, and how do you write about it that will convince somebody who's visiting your website to hire you?
That's frankly a tricky one, but like the basic website, I just try and cover most of the bases. So talk about building science in general, the different pieces of it. I'm actually in the middle of rewriting the website presently. And then blog articles are primarily whatever strikes my fancy, but it does also help to take a negative tack, which is not my natural tendency. But for instance, I opened a wall up in my house and found that it had a tripolymer type foam in it that had shrunk horribly. And it really ticked me off because fixing that involves ripping off a bunch of the siding so I can actually get the foam out. So I took a video of it and blogged about it, and that blog entry does really well.
So aside from the blogging, I mean, when somebody calls and asks you a question, how much time do you budget to spend on the phone with them, especially if there's somebody in your local market who might be a potential customer?
Actually, I'm in the middle of figuring that out. What I'm doing now is I have a fairly long questionnaire. It's 16 questions. And I offer people a discount on my initial consultation for filling the thing out. So my goal is to be on the phone for not very long with people and to just get the appointment and get over there. Because once I'm in front of them, it's a lot harder for them to push me away.
Interesting. And then once you are in front of them, what are the ingredients to the recipe of getting them to actually take action on what you find? First of all, are you finding something that's contractable in every case? Or sometimes do you go out and say, your house is actually pretty good?
It basically depends on whether it's contractable in the client's mind. Is this a problem that's worth spending a substantial amount of money to solve? If they tell you it's worth $2,000, it's like, well, okay, maybe you need another window air conditioner or space heater. And, that's a couple grand will buy you a lot of electricity. But you never know what people are going to spend money on. The project that I just finished up was about $15,000 for a new furnace that was much smaller and a thorough attic seal and blown insulation. And that was all because their boys were waking up because it was too cold or too hot in their bedroom, depending on the season.
So as far as how much data you're giving them in order to sell them this, let's say $15,000 fix, do you do a comprehensive look at the HVAC system and the enclosure, all the tests and everything?
Frankly, no, not a great deal of testing. Blower door test is really the main thing. The curse that I find is that while I would like to do more diagnostic testing, getting somebody to pay for it is very difficult. So typically I try to recommend fixes that have a little bit wider range of error so that if I'm off by a little bit, the fix is still very likely to work.
Mm-hmm. And are you building in some kind of a guarantee? How does your service differ from the next guy?
Actually, at the present moment, no, I'm not doing guarantees, but it's very important to me that I follow up afterwards and see if it works. And just people knowing that you're going to check and knowing that the result is what you care about, not selling a project, seems to be the secret.
So let's say that you follow up and you find out that it did work or it didn't work, or I can't really tell the difference. What do you do at that point?
Well, that's the beauty of the process that I've set up, actually with my partner, Ted. We give 3 different packages to every client. So typically they're going to pick a package 1 or a package 2, but in package 3, we basically throw the book at the project. So here's all the various things you could do. So we give them a heads up through the whole process. If this isn't enough, here's the next bullets to shoot. So basically, it's not entirely on our shoulders if the fix isn't perfect.
Interesting. Okay. And so package 1, package 2 would be kind of like itemized HVAC or envelope related. Is that what I'm understanding?
Well, they can be, but primarily what they're aimed at is what are you trying to fix? So the first one is a budget package. And the second one is the package that we think it's basically the best bang for the buck. So this has the highest likelihood of working without totally spending every penny we possibly could.
Now, you've shot at least one video that I have seen all over the internet. Have you been doing a fair amount of video work, or is that something that you wanted to at least put your personality in front of people in your local market?
It's a good question. Those 2 videos you saw were actually from a marketing company that I'm not working with anymore. But I do have a ton of YouTube stuff that I've been meaning to put up, and I just haven't. I've found that my YouTube channel actually drives quite a few hits. It's got something like 80,000 views, something like that. So
excellent.
Not too shabby for some idiot in Cleveland who barely knows what he's doing.
You and me both, man. So as far as the personality thing, I mean, I'm really big on people hire the person, not the company necessarily, and I think that you definitely understand that. Have you seen that the results of that are that people trust you more inherently because they're like, hey, I was just watching you on your website, and now I'm talking to you. You actually answer your own phone. Amazing.
Yes, that's a big piece of it. That's inbound marketing in my mind, which is really how everybody gets to home performance in general. Nobody knows what the heck home performance is, but they just know that they've got icicles that they want to get rid of, or they've got this room that has been cold in their house for the 15 years they've lived there, and they're sick and tired of dealing with it. And they just go hunting, and if you have an interesting website or an interesting blog article to pull them in the first place, and then they take off reading through everything, it can really be pretty amazing. I had one client, it was actually one of the largest jobs that I'd sold at the time. In fact, it was the largest job. And he was quoting my About Us page back to me.
So your website essentially is like a good hour. I mean, if they wanted to spend hours at your website educating themselves so you don't have to sit there in their presence educating them about what home performance is, they can be reading your blog. That's why you spend so much time on the blog. Is that right?
That's exactly it, yes.
Excellent. So, and again, it's about educating the consumer. So as far as any other tips on, again, building up a home performance contracting firm anywhere in the world that you think would be like necessary steps to take or necessary ingredients to have?
I would say the biggest thing is slowing down. Picture like you want to marry your client. So if that's, I mean, we're both guys, so we'll use guys as the example, not that it wouldn't work for girls, but if you want to marry a girl, do you sit next to her at the bar and ask her to marry you? Probably not. We're trying to talk people into a $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 project that really does have a very high likelihood of solving the problems they came to us for, but it's not a $2,000 fix. So a $2,000, $5,000 project you can sell in one shot, but these bigger projects really take multiple touches, so you need to basically take them out for a couple of dates before you ask them to marry you.
At least a couple. Some nice kissing.
Exactly.
I think getting to the tongue stage is important. So don't have one-night stands with your clients, says Nate Adams. Nate,
actually,
thank you.
I have put it just that way, but you did this time.
Excellent. I'll take credit for that one. Nate, thank you so much for talking with us.
My pleasure, Corbett.
Nate Adams is the founder of Energy Smart Home Performance.
A rising tide lifts all boats. Fall Fast Track.